When it comes to retirement, generic advice is just not going to cut it. And that is why each week we are joined by certified financial planner and founder of Right Path Wealth Management in Henderson, Jimmy Lynn. And he is our guide to breaking down those complex retirement questions. Jimmy, happy Saturday. How you doing?
I'm doing wonderful. I'm really excited, because I've been getting some great feedback from some of our listeners. We've gotten some calls in, so I'm excited to keep educating people.
I love to hear it. I'm excited to chat with you too, always. And we have got a solid lineup of topics to cover today. But first, for those of you listening who've been wondering if your retirement plan is built to last, this is your opportunity today. 702-744-8344 is the number to dial. And Jimmy and his team at Right Path Wealth Management are offering you a complimentary retirement consultation to our first 5 callers today. This is an exclusive, no obligation opportunity just for our radio listeners. And it's just a conversation to get your specific questions answered. There are no strings attached to this, but spots are limited. So go ahead, give us a call. Let's secure your spot before we get started. 702-744-8344 is that number for you again. That number for you one more time, 702-744-8344. We are standing by to take your call, or you can also connect with us online anytime at rightpathwm.com. All right, Jimmy, let's dive in. Back in April, the stock market went down almost 20% in just a few days. Then it bounced back in a week, and now it's near its highest point of the year. But if you panicked and sold, you might be wondering what to do now. An MIT study found of the people who tried to time the market and got burned, 30% were out of the stock market for good. So wanted to ask you, Jimmy, what would you tell someone who sold during the crash?
Well, that's a tricky one. A lot of people I meet have very, very similar stories because you do get emotional. You tend to get emotional when you're looking at the market, and for good reason. It's your life savings oftentimes, and this is the money that you've worked hard to save. And I always like to tell, I like to compliment the hard work people do, because it's not easy to save a nest egg that's going to get you through retirement. We see people not taking those vacations that they really want to take, or, not buying a new car when, theirs is just barely starting, but they know that the sacrifice that they're making is for the greater good of their retirement. And so I always want people to understand that they're doing the right things and they should be recognized for that. But with that hard work, it comes that fear, because you can't work 30 years building up a nest egg, and then when the market crashes, it's too hard to emotionally stay in there oftentimes. That's what we see when we're talking to people. The first thing I tell people is, look, you can't dwell in the past. What happened has happened. So if you sold, there's a term called anchoring in the financial industry, where people will see their portfolios go down because some of the prices of a stock or a mutual fund or ETF went down, and they just decided to cash out because they had that fear. And what happens is, emotionally, they anchor to that price. So let's just, silly example, let's say Google, you own Google at $500 and it goes down to $300 and you sell. Well, now you kind of see Google as a $300 price point. And as it goes back up, well, emotionally, you're anchored to that $300 price. Even though Google has rebounded and now it's $400, you can't get yourself to get back into the market because you're like, well, now I'm way overpaying, right? You're kind of anchored to that initial price. And so what we see is that more times than not, whenever somebody gets out of the market, out of the fear and emotion that overtakes them, it's very, very difficult to re-enter. And what we really want people to understand is, number one, just have a plan. Obviously, you have to have a plan so you don't get those emotions. Easier said than done. But if you've made that mistake, what you want to do is make sure that you are where you are. It's never too late to implement a plan. So you don't want to, just because you made a mistake, you throw your whole retirement out. You can still recover from that. And some people, what they do, a strategy that we implement with our clients is dollar cost averaging back into the market. So if you've gotten out and you're afraid to just go back in because the market has rebounded, well, you can slowly go back in, put a percentage of your portfolio back into the market. So if the market's going up, then you feel good because you're going up as well. But if it happens to have another dip, well, now you're buying at a discount. And so many of our clients utilize this strategy to minimize some of their risks. Sometimes we'll basically take accounts and bring it into safety, kind of create a safety or preservation strategy, and then re-enter the market slowly. So those are some of the examples of what people can do if they've done this. But the main thing is don't dwell on the past. What's happened, so you got to look forward.
Yeah, well, and I think it's super easy to say, don't panic sell in hindsight. Hindsight's 20/20, they say. But when those emotions are high, like you were mentioning, Jimmy, and everyone else around you seems to be selling, it's incredibly difficult to actually put that into practice. So I wanted to ask you, how do you help your clients manage those emotions when they're having them in the moment so that they don't fall into this trap? What's that conversation like?
Well, that's a difficult question for me, because I will tell you that the majority, if not all of our clientele, they don't come to us with those questions because they come to us to solve those problems. Mm-hmm. So what'll happen is when you become a client of ours, we're going to look at your entire portfolio and look at your entire retirement goals to create a plan. And the goal is to insulate your assets, a portion of your assets, from market volatility. Because what we really want to do is we want to prepare your retirement account for all market conditions. And so essentially when we look at a plan, we want to make sure that, part of their portfolio is basically has an asset preservation strategy to it, where the market's up, you can grow with the market, but if a market crashes, that those assets are preserved and you can utilize those. And then your other bucket of money, we like to grow with the market. The nice thing about that strategy is even with our growth strategy, we use money managers that essentially take all the emotion out. It's a very methodical, mathematical strategy that our money managers implement that really understand when there is market volatility, we can reposition some of the assets and then re-enter when it's safe. So because of the strategies that we use, and all advisors don't use the same strategy, so that's why there can be a lot of people with that panic selling emotion. But for us, we don't have a lot of those conversations because we have a plan ahead of time that accounts for this type of situation. We do these complimentary Right Path retirement assessments in our office. And that's an opportunity where we will do a portfolio analysis of what you're holding and see if your current risk matches your stage in life. So I'd encourage any of the listeners out there to call us at 702-744-8344, and we'll get them in for that complimentary assessment. We only have 5 spots, though, so I would encourage them to call now.
Yes, and I just want to emphasize one more time, there is no obligation attached to this. This is just a conversation. It's no pressure. It is no judgment. 702-744-8344 is that number, and we are standing by to take your call now. One more time, that number for you, 702-744-8344, or you can always connect with us online at rightpathwm.com. All right, Jimmy, it is estimated that baby boomers will pass on at least $84 trillion to younger generations by the year 2045. That's why they are calling it the Great Wealth Transfer. And some of that money will be passed on in the form of IRAs. Now, tax guru Ed Slott tells Morningstar that you want to be sure it's a Roth IRA. Take a listen to what he had to say.
Those are the best assets to inherit because under this 10-year rule for beneficiaries, most beneficiaries, non-spouses, have to empty the inherited account now after the Secure Act by the end of the 10th year after death. Same thing with an inherited Roth. But they can keep that inherited Roth growing for the full 10 years. They never have to touch it and take it out, all that accumulated growth and compounding, absolutely income tax free.
So, Jimmy, I wanted to ask you what you're seeing when it comes to inherited IRAs, and are your clients seeing the value of setting up that tax-free future for their families?
Yeah, this is my all-time favorite topic. If anyone's been listening long enough, they know that I am all about taxes and tax strategizing. I always tell people that when you're looking at taxes, it is not a year-by-year scenario. It's literally playing a game of chess with the IRS, and it's a multi-year game of chess. And if you do it right, we've seen where people can potentially save hundreds of thousands of dollars of taxes in retirement. And if you save $300,000 or $400,000 of taxes in retirement, that's basically income that you can utilize for vacations, spoiling your grandkids, helping out your kids. So tax strategizing is essential. And this is exactly where the sweet spot is really trying to take advantage of that Roth IRA. So Ed Slott is spot on. I mean, he's well known within the financial planning industry, as well as just retirees out there. He's always on PBS educating people. So I really look up to him, and I respect his philosophies, and we implement a lot of what he's talking about there. What the goal really is here is looking at being able to pass on assets to your heirs through a retirement account called the Roth IRA. Now, the benefit of that is if you look at kind of where we are right now in the world, we just had the big, beautiful bill, and that extended the lower tax rates that were implemented during Trump's first term. And so it's quote unquote permanent now, but we always know that the tax code is just as permanent as the next administration. But for now, we have an extended period where we are in a lower tax environment. And so we have almost all of our clients are looking at strategies where they can take that nest egg that they've built up, because for most retirees, the majority of their net worth is tied up in tax deferred retirement accounts. So you've contributed throughout your life into these accounts, and you've been told the story that, hey, you're going to get a tax deduction when you put money into this account. And the growth on those accounts is going to be tax deferred, meaning you're not paying any taxes on the growth until you have to take that money out. And so as people are finding out, they've built up these large nest eggs of, $1 million, $2 million sitting in a 401k or a TSP. And as you start taking that money out, you're going to be taxed at ordinary income rates. Well, if you pass on, like when you pass away, when that money goes to, let's say in my example, if I pass away and I have $1 million tied up in a 401k and it goes to my daughter. Well, when I pass away, generally, Casey, if it's to my, let's say, daughter, it's probably going to be when she's in her 50s, which is her highest earning years. Mm-hmm. And then what's going to happen is she's going to have to start distributing that money out. And if she's already making $300,000 or $400,000, because of course my hope is that she's a doctor, right? So she's making that $300,000, $400,000, and then you lump this money on top. It's going to be taxed at the very highest rates. And who knows what taxes are going to be like when she's got to draw this out in another 30 years because, we see the national debt going up. So that's where being able to pass this money on by doing thoughtful planning out of a Roth IRA actually allows her to pull that money out tax free, because most likely if I pay taxes on that money, I'm at a lower tax rate than she will be in the future. So it's a lot of thoughtful planning for your heirs.
Absolutely. Inherited IRAs come with complex tax rules, and without a strategy, your legacy could be taxed away. And that is exactly what we do not want to happen. But Jimmy and his team at Right Path are here to help guide you in navigating these critical inheritance and tax planning issues. They're going to help ensure that your family's financial future is preserved, because you do not want to leave it to chance, I promise you. So remember, Jimmy is offering our first 5 callers that complimentary retirement consultation. This is a no obligation, no judgment conversation with Jimmy, and I promise you want to take advantage of it. But our spots are going quick, so snatch yours up by calling 702-744-8344. That's 702-744-8344. 8344, or you can always visit us online at rightpathwm.com. We're going to give you a second now to make that call, and we will be right back on Right Path to Retirement Radio.
Insurance products are offered through the insurance business Right Path Wealth Management. Right Path Wealth Management is also an investment advisory practice that offers products and services through Impact Partnership Wealth, LLC, a registered investment advisor. IPW does not offer insurance products. The insurance products offered by Right Path Wealth Management are not subject to investment advisory retirements. Investing involves risk, including potential loss of principal. Any reference to the protection, safety, or lifetime income generally refer to fixed insurance products, never securities or investments. Insurance guarantees are backed by the financial strength and claims paying ability of the issuing carrier. This radio podcast is intended for informational purposes only. It's not intended to be used as the sole basis for financial decision, nor should it be construed as advice designed to meet the particular needs of an individual situation. Right Path Wealth Management is not permitted to offer, and no statement made during the show shall constitute tax or legal advice. Our firm is not affiliated with or endorsed by the U.S. government or any governmental agency. The information and opinions contained herein provided by third parties have been obtained from sources believed to be reliable, but accuracy and completeness cannot be guaranteed by Right Path Wealth Management.
Market Guard is a firm that provides investment signals as well as portfolio allocation recommendations, wide variety of model portfolios. Market Guard does not offer advice or enter into fiduciary relationships.